So I am fired up to be here today. How's everybody doing? Nobody runs a better conference than David Abel. We're living in an era of sustainable energy and resource efficiency, and this conference captures all of it. So what I'm going to do is give you a quick 15 or 20-minute world tour. We're going to touch down in China, India, France, England, New York City, and of course, California. I'm going to be as provocative as I can. I'm going to talk to you about how we are literally changing the world in California, where the global economy is coming, where you can make your next fortune, and what smart policymakers need to do to keep America and California at the forefront. That'll take 15 minutes. Then we're going to do 4 or 5 questions, and then we're going to go right into a fireside chat format with Commissioner Peterson, who is really one of the national, if not international, leaders in global energy policy. So buckle up. Let's get going. I want to start out with a quick story. I actually grew up in Los Angeles. I was born in Good Samaritan. At the time, I remember we'd go to the beach. And when you went to the beach back then in the 60s, your mom would have to bring kerosene or turpentine with you because someone would have to wipe the tar off your feet when you went to the beach because of all the oil spills. So think about that. Every time you went to the beach, someone had to follow along with kerosene to get the tar off your kid's body. And why not? Because at the time, if you look back, 9 of the 10 largest companies in the world, market cap-wise, were 6 oil companies and 3 auto companies, with U.S. Steel or GE bringing up the rear. It was an oil-based economy. The oil and auto industry controlled the economy and, frankly, controlled government as well. That is all changing. After 40 years of extraordinary economic growth with China and now India following the excesses of America, we have a planet choking on pollution. Ponder this, and I was just in Beijing speaking at the Googleplex there, and on the front page of the paper, it said in the China Daily News, they'd just done a study that merely living in Beijing was the equivalent of smoking 52 cigarettes a day. So if you have a child, it is born with literally a 2.5 pack a day cigarette habit. The Harvard Health Project projects over the next 25 years, 83 million people in China will die of lung disease. 83 million people. India is in the process of passing China as the largest polluter in the world. The Chinese, to their credit, have begun a massive campaign to move towards solar and wind. China, by far the largest solar power in the world. By the way, I see a few people taking pictures. Have at it. Everything's open. If you want a copy, I'll send it to you. India is becoming the greatest challenge. But there's good news on the horizon. California started the parade 40 years ago in the 1970s. And what did we do that literally reshaped the global economy and began to make our energy cleaner after it was getting dirtier for decades in a row? Anybody remember? No? Yeah, it's catalytic converters. California unilaterally required the auto industry, if you want to sell cars in our state, you must make them cleaner. Detroit said, what are you, crazy? We can't make cars for different states. We forced their hand. Within a decade, every state in the country, every country in the world had followed California's model. Most people think there's a great battle going on amongst us between the carbon fuel industry and the renewables industry, right? I'm here to tell you that fight has already been waged and it's over. Renewable energy has already won. There's a global move to that. The real question is already what is happening next, and I'm about to tell you. But let me start with a quick trivia question. Who here knows what year How far do we have to wait before the majority of the new power that's added to the electrical grid globally, not just in liberal California or Massachusetts, but globally, Africa, Asia, Europe, how many years is it before the majority of new power coming online globally is renewable energy? 30 years? 10? 3 years ago, 5 years ago. Take a look at this chart. Carbon fuels already globally going down, renewables coming on faster than anybody anticipated, and I am here to tell you right now, because the cost of renewable energy is going down so quickly, it does not matter whether you're Republican or Democrat, or you somehow think coal is coming back. The whole world knows, except for 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, the whole world knows we're going this direction. And it's happening inexorably, and it's driven by the global economy. So here's what's driving it. We all know the cost of solar, wind is going down precipitously. You can see the graph on the top. Renewables are now below the cost of carbon fuels in virtually every part of the country. That is a stunning thing. They're not only cheaper, but they don't pollute. But the missing link is power storage. Full stop. Most of you know more or less, if you're in business at all, what the cost of a barrel of oil is. Anybody know? God bless you. 64. It's just what you need to know in the global economy. In the future, you will need to know what the cost per kilowatt hours of lithium-ion batteries are. They are becoming ubiquitous. Most of my life, they've been about $2,000 a kilowatt right here. In the early 2000s, they dropped 50% to $1,000 a kilowatt. I was serving on the board of Tesla at the time. And this was such a dramatic thing. What it meant is, for the first time, you could produce a very expensive, very cool electric car for rich people. But what's happened here, if you look at it going down, it was going down literally 7 to 10% a year. And people said, oh my God, a new Moore's Law, lithium-ion batteries goes down. But here's where it gets interesting. 2 years ago, it dropped. It's well below $100 a kilowatt hour, down from $1,000 just 8 years ago. There is no way internal combustion vehicles can keep up. We are heading toward a world, get this, where people will no longer pay a penny for electricity or gasoline. Sorry, Southern California Edison. This is a big shift. And I just want you to know that as this happens, you will see an inexorable move to electric vehicles. You will see power storage in every home. Vehicles will become batteries with wheels. They will be transferring power two ways. You will have a chance to make money selling electricity back to the utility to help them arbitrage. This is a whole new world. What's stunning to me is people say, well, how quickly could this electric car thing really come? Because they're so expensive. I hardly see any on the road. It's coming faster than you know. I happen to be Norwegian, so I love this slide. God bless the Norwegians, stood up and said, by 2025, ban on oil and diesel vehicles. This is coming off a world that just a bit ago were the 9 biggest companies in the world were oil and car companies. But there aren't many Norwegians, about 4.5 million. My wife thinks it's too many. India, 1.2 billion people choking in the worst pollution on the planet. They've stood up and said, we're moving all electric. All electric will be prohibited to sell diesel vehicles after 2030. England, France, the largest economies in the world, lining up. America, missing in action. California, leading. We have just put in legislation now for a ban on oil and diesel vehicle sales by 2040. This is a fundamental shift. Four years ago, General Motors said we may see some hybrids in our future. 8 weeks ago, Mary Barra General Motors' future is all electric. And right behind it, she said, and by the way, our business model at General Motors is changing. We won't be selling cars to individuals in the future. In our vision, we will become the largest autonomous ride-hailing firm in the world. And the new number to keep in your mind is, can we deliver people for $1.50 per mile? That is the new coin of the realm. I just want you to know this chart, which shows how quickly electric cars are coming, was based on the old battery numbers before the last ratchet down. Ponder this. A lot of you know Tesla has built this gigafactory. You know how big a Costco is, 100,000 square feet? The gigafactory is the size of 100 Costcos piled together, the largest building in North America. Volkswagen has said they will produce more batteries than Tesla times 5. This is what's driving the global cost down. It's changing the economy as we know it. By the way, it now looks, after the business industry said, because California stood up as a global leader and said, we will require that 50% of the power utilities produce in this state is renewable. The business and industry said, we'll never get there to 50% production by 2030. It now appears that the utilities in this state, now I want to say, God bless you, SoCal Edison, we may be there as early as 2020. A goal once thought to be possible is now here 10 years early, thanks to California's leadership. But that's just part of the story. What's next? This is what I want you to think about. We're now rapidly disintermediating every industry to create a new future. The energy industry, the auto industry, the building industry are all being disintermediated as part of a global city movement. By the way, the auto industry and the utilities and building industry, they didn't care about each other. They're all different. Now they're becoming completely intertwined. And one of the reasons they're becoming intertwined is because they're under attack. By who? Silicon Valley, where I flew in from this morning. Let me tell you all about it. Apple, Google, Amazon. The world's been turned upside down. Those oil companies and auto companies, they're all gone. One left in the top 10, Exxon. Number 10 and sinking like a stone in more ways than one. So who's displaced them? Of the 10 biggest market cap companies in the world, 5 of them are tech companies. All 5 are on the West Coast, nothing left in New York, Philadelphia, Detroit, Chicago. That's the old world. 3 are in Silicon Valley, where I live, Google, Facebook, and Apple. The other 2 are in Seattle, and Amazon rapidly heading for the #1 position in the world. By the way, a quick story. One of my very best friends joined Amazon 2 years ago. He was the 100,000th employee. Last year, they sent him a note saying, congratulations, old timer. You're in the first half of employees. We crossed 200,000 in a 14-month period. Now they're at 350,000. But they may be about to be overrun, because filling out the top 10 are 3 of the fastest growing companies in the world, all Chinese tech companies, Baidu, Alibaba, and Tencent. What you must know is technology is eating the world. This is the future, and it is bringing renewable energy even faster than what I showed you. Again, while our CEO in the White House is asleep at the switch, coal is not coming back. The future is what is happening, and it is disintermediating everything. What you must know is, this is the new ethos. You must cannibalize your business before your competition does, or someone else will. Second, our whole new world going forward is going to be driven by new technologies like the Internet of Things. Cisco says 50 billion items. Every part of our lives, our home, our car, our work, ourselves, is going to be connected. And new models like the sharing economy. This underlies and is driving our future, and you must understand it to be successful in the new economy. And the third thing you have to know, They're new customers. For the first time, think about this, the first time in 50 years, baby boomers, old guys like me, are no longer the largest buying cohort in the world. In 2017, millennials displaced them, the largest buyers in the world. And that's a big deal because their buying patterns are completely different. And we need to understand this. My generation, it's all about who can buy the biggest TV, the biggest car, the biggest house, and then we'll throw it out and buy a bigger one in 18 months. That's all gone. Millennials are looking for three things. One, they want to see a smaller carbon footprint in everything they do. God bless you. Two, complete connectivity in every part of your life. Car, home, work. And three, they want to see companies with a higher purpose. Bad news for Exxon, great news for Google, Apple, and other firms if they do the right thing, on top of which is be careful with your data and maintain your trust. This is the new world we live in. New technology, new customers, future with a higher purpose. This is what energy looks like. And this is the energy of the last 5 years. Most people think this is the future. It's renewables and storage and fuel cells. This is already old news. Our investors, by the way, are the largest utility investors in the world. And I know some are here, like Chubu Electric, which is one of the leaders in Asia, SoCal Edison. This is the new energy. It's complete home energy automation. Blockchain. Blockchain? We now have the ability to do peer-to-peer energy trading. The utilities, if they are not careful, could be left out of this entire mix. Everybody will be encouraged to be part of this new energy economy. IoT and lighting. There is a revolution in businesses, in buildings. Every building in every country on the planet is moving from a dumb building to a digitized smart building. It appears now that the intelligence for buildings will be in the lighting. Your lights won't be lights anymore. They will have sensors. Sensors that help you save energy, sensors that provide full mesh networking, sensors that will tell you how many people are in every room and help you manage your source, or how many people you have in a building. It'll measure the quality of your air. Lights will make our buildings and our cities smaller. This is part of the new world we're in. And our vehicles, which is my favorite part, are changing quickly. We're moving from driving vehicles to autonomous vehicles faster than anybody knows. Now, a lot of people say, well, when's all this going to happen? Well, who's going to make money doing this? I read about Solyndra. Mr. Romney said this stuff's never happening. If you look at the fastest growing companies in the world, you will see a disproportionate number that are in this resource efficiency mode. And these aren't just billion-dollar unicorns. These are firms worth in the tens of billions of dollars. And the striking thing about this list, there's not one company here over 14 years old. And they're becoming the fastest growing companies in the world. So I'm going to give you a quick 1-minute snippet from Tesla history, because I was sitting there on the board and chaired the audit committee. And then I'm going to close with my 2 favorite slides. I want to make the case that the future is happening faster than we understand. A lot of you remember the EV1. It was the first real electric car that got any attention, and a movie came out because General Motors had the good judgment to take all 600 of them in the middle of the night, crush them, pull them off the market, and ushered in the movie Who Killed the Electric Car. It looked like a wild conspiracy, but it wasn't. It's a crappy product. It had a range of 70 miles. Slowest thing on the road. I'm not even going to comment on the looks. Fast forward, just 16 years, Tesla rolls out this vehicle. It's the safest car ever tested by NHTSA. It is #1 in Consumer Reports. Auto World's Company of the Year. Literally, electric cars went from irrelevant to being the best sellers within a short period. And now the Model 3. Biggest selling car in America is usually a Toyota Corolla or a Honda Accord, 265, 70,000 units. This thing, the Model 3, which is starting to roll out on the streets like crazy in Northern California, and you will see it here within a month or two all over, has 500,000 orders before they even put one in a storeroom. Twice what has been sold by a car, almost twice, in US history. And right behind it, starting this year, you are seeing companies like Mercedes put out high-end autonomous vehicles. By the way, if you're looking inside it, there is no steering wheel in this thing. If you're worried about, like, is it going to bump into something, you want to jump up to the front seat and take the wheel, you're out of luck, there is no wheel. This is coming faster than you realize. Ford has said they'll put fully autonomous vehicles on the road in 2021. We've just invested in a LiDAR company. We see these all over in Silicon Valley. This is the future, and we can talk more about that in a minute. The point is, it's happening right before our eyes. So what I want to leave you with is this notion that the inflection point is coming. Who knows what city this is? Anybody recognize this? New York City. Fifth Avenue, Easter Day Parade, 1900. You get the gist of it. Horse-drawn wagons everywhere. That's all people can imagine, except if you look really closely, there's one internal combustion vehicle. And you know what people are thinking? Who is that nut job with that thing? And it's belching smoke, and it goes 3 miles an hour, and it's an eyesore. 12 years later, 13 years later, New York City, same day, same street, Easter Day Parade. It's a whole new world. All the streets are paved. Horses are gone. We've entirely moved from a horse-drawn economy to internal combustion vehicles in 13 years, and I will tell you, if we can move that quickly in 1900, think what is going to happen in 2018 for the next 5 years. We're in the middle of a global shift and change in the economy like no one has ever seen, and that brings us to this. California is still the future. What makes us great? What makes us the world's 6th largest economy? It is 4 things. We have the world's best universities right here. UCLA, USC, Caltech, Berkeley, Stanford. We are reshaping the world. Second, we've got risk capital that will fund young people to take new ideas and turn them into a reality. Third, and make no mistake about this, I hope Washington is listening, we have an immigrant population here that is driving our economy further than anybody understands. Folks, 71% of all workers, tech workers in Silicon Valley, are immigrants, including my wife. Over 50% of the CEOs that take companies public on NASDAQ today are immigrants. This is our secret sauce. And the fourth thing, California understands that we are remaking the future. That is our destiny. There has never been a better time to be an entrepreneur. If any of you have business plans, bring them to me now. We are charting a new destiny in this state, and we will continue to keep California at the forefront of creating a new resource economy. Thank you.